Hello, welcome back to the channel, everyone. Today's disc review, we are taking a look at the Virus from Axiom discs. Hello everyone, let's go ahead and kick off this review by taking a look at the profile of the Virus. Now, the Virus does have a nice gradually rounded shoulder and then also a slight dome to flat. Depending heavily on the plastic, the Neutron tend to have a slight dome to it versus all the Proton that I've seen are consistently flatter. Which is actually a great thing because I do like slightly domier discs when it comes to backhand and also flatter discs when it comes to forehand. And as we're going to see, that actually matches up perfectly with the different flight you can get out of the two different plastics. Now the Virus is a speed 9 with a glide 5, turn negative 3.5, and a fade of 1, making that this is going to be a very understable fairway driver. As you can see, when thrown on just a slight hyzer, it immediately flipped up, turned over right away, before then just kind of stalling out at the very end of the flight and having a hard finish, mainly just because of the stall. But because it's so understable so early, it makes a great hyzer flipping tool. So if you are a player looking to learn how to hyzer flip, or if you're just wanting a disc that you can throw on a hyzer, get it to flip up to flat, probably get a little bit of turn and the babyest of finish, that is what the Virus is going to do. And you're seeing a throw here with the Proton. I have to say the Proton, I'm going to go more in depth later, but I just feel like it has a little bit more torque resistant, a little bit more for the bigger arms, or if you have a little bit of a headwind. Which is actually a good thing that you're going to get a slightly different flight out of a different plastic because, you know, with the Neutron plastic version, if the wind is over 5 miles an hour, I am not going to be pulling it out of the bag at all. The thing is just too flippy. But the Proton, it just resists torque a little bit better than the Neutron, making more trustworthy when it comes to forehand and also on those slightly windy days. I was also impressed with the amount of glide that the Virus has. This thing just likes to really hang up in the air if you do put a bit of air under it, and even when you do throw it low on those kind of hyzer flips like this, as you can see, it doesn't need a lot of air in order to really just kind of hold and float and just get a lot of decent distance. And I feel that's why the Virus is a great disc for beginning players who are looking to step up into those faster discs, not quite up into like the speed 12 discs, but the Virus at speed 9 is that perfect slot because it's so easy to throw, so effortless to get big S curving shots, learning how to hyzer flip and getting hyzer flip shots, really growing into it. Slower arms are really going to be able to take advantage of those attributes along with the great glide to get crazy distance with the Virus. I know I say it a lot, but the Virus is going to be a very long distance driver for players of slower arms. Definitely, I would highly recommend. And also, if you've tried the Insanity from Axiom discs and you just found it to be a little bit too overstable in the sense that it wasn't consistently getting enough turn for you, then I would highly recommend you check out the Virus. Alright, let's go ahead and transition out onto the course. For this hole, you want something that's going to hyzer but push forward while hyzering. Well, the Virus, as long as you throw it slower, not at full power, it will hold straight, and then as it slows down, it's going to have a nice forward penetrating finish, getting you deep around those corners. This is just do what you want. You have so much wide open airspace to take advantage of, so I like to throw the Virus out wide, let it turn back into the middle of the fairway, and then depending on the height, maybe again just a little bit of a baby hyzer at the very end. For this shot, you have to hit a gap very far down the fairway, so I want to throw the Virus out wide, again knowing that it's going to get a lot of turn in that mid-flight, and then just at the very end it's going to auto-correct itself. It's going to have a little bit of a hyzer back, getting you through that gap. On this hole, you have two trees, one short, one long. The perfect line to the basket is just cutting it right between them, so commit to the Virus on flat or slight anhyzer depending on your arm speed, and just watch it hold that turn all the way through the gap to the basket. I absolutely love just how easy it is to get the Virus to hold those turnover lines. So kind of touched on it a little bit earlier in the video, but the Virus comes in a couple different plastics, Neutron and Proton. Proton, I mentioned it earlier, it holds torque a little bit better, and at slower speeds, it is consistently a very straight flyer with then a predictable hyzer finish. And then as you ramp it up a little bit, it's going to get turned in the mid-flight, but it's going to check up a little bit sooner and have a little bit more of a finish. I also mentioned how it's flatter. Well, because of its flatness and it's a little bit more torque resistant, I feel it makes a great touch four-handing fairway driver. Still, not super torque resistant, so it's not something you want to really power into, but at least holds it a little bit better. Now, let's go ahead to the Lefty lines, take a look at the Virus and Neutron, the Virus and Proton, and also the Discraft Heat in both ESP and Z. And if you're asking yourself about the weights I'm throwing, well, the Neutron is in the mid 160s and the Proton is in the higher 160s, so definitely comparable, but the Proton does kind of come out of a turn a little bit sooner and also has a harsher finish versus the Neutron. And when it comes to the heat, the ESP heat is a bit flippier, very reminiscent of the Neutron, but I think it's even a little bit more understable than the Neutron. But then in low speeds, it has more low speed stability, so that way when it does start to fight out, it's going to have a little bit of a harder finish. And when it came to the Z, pretty reminiscent of the Proton. I think it got just a little bit more turn overall, but again, in that low speed stability at the very end of the flight, it was pretty comparable to the Proton. Still, overall, I think the Heat and Virus are very comparable discs. If you like the Heat from Discraft and you're wanting to find something that's very close to it over in the Axiom MVP family, definitely check out the Virus. I think the two of them are very comparable. In fact, I feel the Virus is almost like the flatter or just slightly domed version to the Heat. Well, that's it for today, everyone. I hope all of you enjoyed this review of the Axiom Discs Virus. If you haven't already, be sure to subscribe. We just crossed 8,000 subscribers within the last couple of weeks. Thank you all so much for the support. I greatly appreciate it. Definitely going to have to do some kind of giveaway soon. More details on that to come. As always, visit GreatLakesDisc.com. Use code LEFTY at checkout to save yourself 10% on your next disc order. I greatly appreciate all the support from each and every one of you. Until the next one, keep banging chains.